Typhoon Karen hit Guam on November 11, 1962. The typhoon moved across Guam at 18 miles per hour, with wind speed ranging from 155 to 190 miles per hour. Guam was declared a disaster area. Before Typhoon Karen, homes were mostly made up of wood and tin. Wooden homes were made from efit and wood imported from the U.S. and the Philippines. After Typhoon Karen, prefabricated concrete houses created by the Kaiser Company were built. They were cheap, typhoon and hurricane resistant, with floors and walls precast with steel bars placed inside to strengthen integrity.
A local Typhoon Karen witness shares her experience.
My name is Lourdes Cepeda, and I come from the village of Toto. I've resided in that village for all of my life, actually. And I come from a family of 9, and I'm the 7th of 9. We have 5 girls and 4 boys. I am 63 years old, single, but have lots of children.
Before Typhoon Karen, what kind of house did you live in?
I was living in a tin and wooden structure house. It had 4 bedrooms, kitchen, dining room, living room, but we have no doors. It's the kind, during that time, people don't really secure their houses. And what we had, we used to tease each other, is we had a sliding door that was made of just 1 plywood, and you slide it in or out. And you only close it mainly to keep the animals from coming into the house, like chickens, cats, dogs, even sometimes pigs. But it's not to keep people away, but it was more to prevent the animals running around from entering the house.
How did your family prepare for the typhoon?
It's like securing the windows with plywood at that time, closing, because the windows had shutters, not the modern shutters. It's just those closed shutters, and then putting plywood over it, and of course our door, trying to secure it, and again another plywood in front of the door jamb or around the door frame. So that was basically, and of course we have to prepare our food. It was fun because when typhoon comes, that means you make the binelos manglo or the air donuts. You prepare for kadu, or soup that will last you throughout the weather. Like, I think at that time, my mother made oxtail soup with yam, and you cannot go without having biscuitsu, or the navy biscuit, and butter, and anything that won't spoil throughout the occasion. So it was kind of fun preparing for that.
Did your house survive the typhoon?
Yes, it did. Fortunately, it did. But during especially during the extreme intensity of the wind, we thought that we will be gone and the roof would go, because we heard the creaking sounds. The roof or the house was excuse me, was slanting to one side, and we were scared. And during this time, those who were with us were my siblings, of course, my mother, my married sister and her husband, and her 2 children, and my sister. My oldest sister was pregnant at that time. I believe she was 7 months pregnant, and her husband were with us. So at the peak of the storm, and we all felt that we may not survive the house, my brother-in-law decided to, because we had wooden flooring at that time, decided to go to the kitchen and using a machete made a hole through the flooring so we could climb down under the house, to stay under the house. Because under the house was an enclosed structure, almost like a cellar, but it still had the soil or the dirt ground, but it was enclosed with, again, tin and wooden structure. But it wasn't, my brother-in-law tested it out, and he felt that it would be much safer under the house than in the house. So just using a machete, he sort of made an X and started chopping away on the flooring so that we will be able to go down into the so-called basement and stay there until the storm subsides. And also during storms, my father's never with us because he works at that time for the power company, so he's never home with us. So we had to rely on my brother-in-law to give us guidance as to our safety and welfare during that time.
In your opinion, did the typhoon's impact benefit Guam's architecture?
Most definitely. I think with Typhoon Karen, because the aftermath, when you look all around, in my neighborhood, our house was the only one standing. All the other houses were raised. I mean, some of the roofing ended up in our yard. And we were fortunate that we have like a cliff covering our house area. But when we looked around and saw the neighbors, they just didn't have much of anything left. Even after the typhoon, my grandparents, both my grandparents came to join us at our house and stayed with us for a while until they were able to find another shelter. But it was certainly an eye-opener. And this was in 1962. Thereafter, there were several houses being built made of concrete. Our family took longer because in 1962, yes, then fortunately a Korean company was building a subdivision made of prefab concrete houses right down our alley. So we were able to purchase a house. So from 1962 to 1970, we moved into an all concrete house. And part of the reason for that is we wanted to be secure, knowing that at any time a typhoon may hit the island. And the experience that we went through, not just the loss of some of the stuff that we had, but just the trauma and the emotional upheaval that it causes was really so tremendous that we didn't want to experience that again. So for our purposes, we wanted to secure a safer place to be in whenever a typhoon hits.
This film gives an overview of the architectural impact of Typhoon Karen on Guam, which was a powerful storm that hit the island on November 12, 1962, from the perspective of Miss Lourdes Cepeda. The film was produced by Mark Burgos, Margaret Acabado, Charlayne Espinosa, Nikko Inocencio, and Justino Tariuwelgol. The producers were students in Dr. Ann Perez-Otori's Fall 2012 History of Guam course at the University of Guam. The film is part of an ongoing Guam Oral Histories project made possible by the College of Liberal Arts and Social Sciences at the University of Guam.